Ever wonder what it takes to build a business empire? No, not the board game, the real deal. Today's deep dive is all about the nuts and bolts of what makes businesses tick. And we're doing it with a twist. We're comparing two companies you might not think have much in common. Wegmans, the grocery store that's basically a foodie theme park,
Right?
and CSX, the railroad giant. That's like the circulatory system of the U.S. economy.
Yeah, it's a fascinating study in contrasts.
Yeah.
We often hear about the 5 functions of a business, but seeing how those functions come to life in completely different industries, that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, so for those of us who haven't been to business school, what are these 5 magical functions? Give us the crash course version.
Think of it like this. Every successful business, whether it's a tiny startup or a Fortune 500 company, needs these 5 things working in sync. Management, operations, marketing and sales, finance, and research and development.
Okay, let's unpack this. We've got management, the folks calling the shots, steering the ship. Then there's operations. That's where the rubber meets the road, getting everything done.
And don't forget marketing and sales, the voice of the company. They're the ones making sure you actually know about that awesome product or service and convincing you to buy in.
And keeping the lights on. That's finance, right? Making sure the money's flowing where it needs to, managing budgets, and all that jazz.
Exactly. And last but not least, there's research and development, the innovation engine. They're the ones constantly looking for ways to improve, to invent the next big thing, to keep the company one step ahead of the curve.
So we've got our 5 business building blocks, but I'm ready to see them in action. Let's start with Wegmans. What makes them such a fascinating example of these functions in play?
What's fascinating about Wegmans is they've managed to crack the code on creating a grocery shopping experience that people actually enjoy.
Okay, so it's not just me. I actually get excited to go to Wegmans. It's dangerous for my wallet.
But hey, a man's got to eat.
Exactly. And it all comes down to how expertly they leverage these 5 functions. Take management, for instance. Danny Wegman, the company's leader, has instilled a customer-centric philosophy that permeates every level of the organization.
It definitely shows. The employees are always so friendly and helpful. It feels like they actually want you to have a good experience, which is kind of rare these days. Right, and that's not by accident. They empower their employees to go above and beyond to solve customer issues on the spot. In fact, I heard a story once about a Wegmans employee who drove a customer 30 miles to return a lost wallet. Now that's customer service.
Wow, see, that's the kind of aha moment I live for. It's those little details that really bring these concepts to life.
Exactly. And this management approach extends to every facet of the business. For example, think about the sheer logistical mastery behind their operation.
Oh, yeah. The perfectly stocked shelves, the fresh produce. It's like a well-oiled machine.
It really is. They've mastered their supply chain, ensuring products arrive at peak freshness and are displayed strategically. Think about how they organize those displays. They're practically designed to make you hungry.
Don't even get me started on those bakery smells. Strategically placed right when you walk in. It's marketing genius.
Exactly. Their marketing isn't just about flashy ads. It's about creating an irresistible experience. They know their target customer. Busy families, foodies like yourself, people looking for convenience without sacrificing quality. They cater to those desires with things like their prepared meal section. It's like having a gourmet chef at your fingertips.
Speaking of gourmet chefs, those prices can add up quickly. How does Wegmans balance those premium offerings with, keeping things affordable?
That's where their finance department comes in. They walk a tightrope between profitability and value. They're masters at managing budgets, negotiating with suppliers, and ensuring they can offer competitive prices while still investing in those high-quality products and that stellar customer service.
So it's not just about crunching numbers. It's about understanding how those numbers translate into the overall customer experience.
100%. And just when you think you've seen it all, they introduce a new store concept, expand their organic offerings, or roll out some globally inspired cuisine in their prepared meal section. That's research and development in action, ensuring they're always one step ahead of the trends and keeping their offerings fresh and exciting.
Okay, I'm full from our imaginary Wegmans trip.
Uh-huh.
But you know what they say, room for one more bite of knowledge. Let's jump to our second business case study, CSX. I'll admit railroads aren't exactly the first thing that come to mind when I think cutting-edge business, but I'm ready to be surprised.
Get ready for a change of scenery, because we're talking about a company that moves millions of tons of freight every year. Think of them as the silent giant behind the scenes, keeping the economy humming.
So management in this context, we're not talking about a store manager, right? What does leadership look like on this kind of scale?
Imagine coordinating a ballet, but instead of dancers, you've got locomotives, freight cars, thousands of miles of track, and a workforce spread across the entire eastern United States. That's the challenge facing CSX's management team.
Mind-boggling. So we're talking about strategic planning on a whole other level. They're not just worried about one store, but a whole network that impacts the entire country.
Exactly. And it's not just about logistics. It's about anticipating challenges. From weather disruptions to fluctuations in global markets, a single decision at the top can have ripple effects throughout the entire supply chain. It's a constant game of chess, but with real-world consequences.
And this is where those operational muscles really get a workout right. What kind of feats of coordination are we talking about with a company like CSX?
We're talking about a symphony of moving parts. You've got trained dispatchers working around the clock to optimize routes and schedules, engineers ensuring those massive trains run smoothly and safely, and countless maintenance crews keeping the infrastructure in top shape.
All to deliver goods on time and keep the economy flowing. You know, I never thought about the hidden complexity of something as seemingly simple as a train delivering cargo. It's a whole other world behind the scenes.
And just like Wegmans caters to grocery shoppers, CSX needs to nail their marketing and sales strategy. But their target audience is a bit different.
All right, let's talk marketing. I can't imagine seeing a Super Bowl commercial for CSX anytime soon. So how do they get the word out? Who are they trying to reach?
Think big players in industries like automotive, agriculture, energy, companies that need to move massive quantities of goods across the country. CSX's marketing is all about building those B2B, business-to-business relationships, demonstrating reliability and the ability to handle even the most complex logistical challenges.
So it's less about catchy slogans and more about proving their worth through results and building trust over the long haul.
Exactly. And of course, none of this happens without a rock-solid financial strategy. We're talking about a company with billions of dollars in assets, locomotives, freight cars, tracks, and terminals. It's the finance team's job to ensure those assets are well maintained, that investments are sound, and that the company can weather any economic storms.
I bet fuel costs alone are enough to give their finance team nightmares, not to mention maintaining thousands of miles of track.
It's a constant balancing act. But CSX seems to have found a winning formula. And here's the thing about CSX that surprised me. They haven't let their 200-year history stop them from innovating.
Now, this is what I'm talking about. Break it down for us. What does research and development look like for a railroad company in the 21st century?
They're investing heavily in fuel-efficient locomotives to reduce both costs and their environmental footprint. They're also at the forefront of developing advanced software that optimizes everything from train scheduling to fuel consumption. They're even exploring alternative fuels and technologies that could revolutionize the industry.
So even an industry as seemingly traditional as railroads is finding ways to evolve and embrace the future.
And that's the beauty of these 5 functions. They're not just abstract concepts. They're the lifeblood of any successful business, regardless of industry or size.
It's been eye-opening to see how these principles play out in such different contexts. From the aisles of our favorite grocery store to the railroads that crisscross the country.
It's like having a new lens through which to view the business world.
So to our listeners, we challenge you. Take these 5 functions and apply them to the businesses you interact with every day. You might be surprised by what you discover.
Because whether you're building a business empire or just trying to navigate the world around you, understanding these fundamental principles can give you a whole new perspective.
And that's a wrap on today's deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep those brain gears turning.